we are here because Ella had suffered a severe hypoxic ischemic insult at birth. She was a term baby, and she had to be brought back to life when delivered, and she then suffered seizures for the first 24 to 36 hours of life, and she was put on to drugs like clonazepam, phenytonin, phenobarbital to sedate her and stop the seizures. She had a CT scan after 10 days, and she showed a right-sided bleed. She also had an MRI scan following that, which concluded that it was a severe hypoxic ischemic insult, which was grade 3 out of 3. It also concluded that there was no problems with Ella before the actual birth, so it was injury at birth.
Right now she's 9 months old. She, just to summarise her symptoms when she was born, was that she had very high tone in her lower body and low tone in her upper body. Since she's been undergoing all the physiotherapy that we've been doing since she was 1 month old, she now has high tone in her upper body and low tone in her lower body.
So she's very stiff when it comes to her, moving her arms and her shoulders. Her right arm being a lot worse than her left arm. She also finds it very hard to concentrate and focus on, holding objects, because she finds it very hard to basically control her tone.
Really, she can't sit unaided. She can't roll by herself, and she finds it very difficult to control her tone. She has dystonic athetosis, which means that her tone fluctuates between very high and very low, and she can't regulate it at a normal tone. In the same way that she can't regulate her tone, she also has problems regulating her emotions, and her arousal levels are quite. She's sort of oversensitive to things like light and noise and emotional stimulation, and once her arousal levels are up here, it's quite hard to bring her down, but it's a lot better than it used to be. It used to be once she got upset she'd be screaming for an hour, and now it's a matter of minutes. And recently she's started to self-soothe with hands and mouth or dummies, which has been great.
The first thing that we saw was after probably I think it was the first treatment. Her appetite increased immensely. She went from having a few mouthfuls of her bowl of food and to the whole bowl, and she probably had about 2.5 times the amount of milk that she normally has. After about the third treatment, she started to roll in her bed, from her back to her right hand side, and she would do it quite regularly in the mornings and during the night. She would lift up her arms, get into a rolling position, and then turn to her right, roll to her right hand side, and then roll back. And then after about the 4th treatment, one morning we woke up and she had rolled onto her stomach, which is actually the only time we've ever seen, and we haven't seen it since. But she has, since she first started rolling, started to sleep on her side.
Also in bed, she never used to sleep through, and we think maybe because she couldn't kind of make herself comfortable if she woke up in the night, whereas now she feels a lot more secure in herself to be able to fall back asleep again, and she's just that bit more secure to sleep through the night.
Her core strength has got a lot better. She's now, in her physiotherapy sessions, she's able to stand assisted without crying, which she wouldn't have been able to do beforehand. And also her, I believe that her general flexibility has improved.
She's also achieving a lot more in physiotherapy than at a faster rate than she's ever done before, and can now do assisted standing, and she can't crawl, but we're doing hand over hand and getting her to push herself along a bit. Her tone has reduced, especially in the upper body where it was worse, and especially in the right arm, which was even worse. She's more sort of flexible and looser as a result, and sort of a bit more active and kicking around a bit more. It's quite similar to a type of therapy that we have done back in Europe, but I'd say that we're doing the same amount here as we're doing at home, which is approximately 5 one-hour sessions a week. But I think that she's progressing faster here, so we have to attribute that to the stem cells rather than the intensity of the physiotherapy. I mean, things like this I can do so much more easily than I would ever be able to do before. I mean, I could have done that before, but it would have been much more stiff. And her hands open a lot more easily than they did before.
We've now come for the we've just finished the second treatment, and we've seen further improvements already. Her core has strengthened again. She has more coordination in terms of her leg movements. Ella's specialists have also noticed a lot of improvements. They were sceptical before she went away, and over the 3 to 6 months they've noticed some remarkable improvements, and they have written that in reports. Her hand movements have improved as well. Beforehand she had improved her right arm movement from the previous treatment, but after this set of treatments she has more dexterity in her right hand, and she started to hold objects, which she hadn't done beforehand. Before, she used to, if we gave her an object to hold in her right hand, she would automatically move it to her left hand. But now she passes objects to and from both hands, which is a remarkable improvement. We've also put her into a walker this past week, and she's managed to walk and run at times.
Well, even though you're not expecting to see anything while you're here, you're really expecting to see it when you get home. But to see it when you're here is very exciting.